is the Glass Cannon Network.
Huzzah! You are merrily met, Glass Cannon Naish. Hello, it's me, Jared Logan, and you're in my garage. We call it the Game Garage here on the Glass Cannon Network, a show where we play tabletop role-playing games. And tonight, we are playing GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system from Steve Jackson Games. We have a game that is historical. It is set in the 14th century, the 1300s in England. And joining me, as they did for the last 3 episodes, is an incredible crew of lowly peasants all. Please welcome one of my best pals in the world, a scholar, a gentleman, Mr. Clinton Trucks.
Hey everybody, it's me, Clint.
Yes. A Glass Cannon mainstay, the GM for Voyagers of the Jump, a traveler show here on the Glass Cannon, as well as Sir Julie on the Strange Aeons Live. You guys already know him, Matthew Capodicasa.
Hello.
Hello. And he is the publisher of Paizo, where they make the incredible Pathfinder series of role-playing games, and he's done so many things in the world of publishing. He's also a true weirdo. I mean that as a compliment. Please welcome Erik Mona.
Hello.
Hello, true weirdo.
Thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me.
Oh, thank you for taking it as a compliment.
There's no put on. You're a dyed in the wool weirdo.
I'll take it.
We all are on some level. So here we are. We've been gaming a historical game in the 14th century. Our characters do not have powers. There are no dragons. There are no magic spells. There is not some sort of Cthulhu entity lurking in the wings. Instead, your characters and their descendants have been dealing with things like famine, an attack by the French in our second episode. And then our third episode, the bubonic plague hit your community. What I want to know is, people keep saying, like, 2022... every year since 2020 is the worst year ever. Things have gone downhill. The world is going to end soon. Society's going to collapse. Do you think it was worse to live in the 14th century or now?
The 14th century.
I don't think there was any year earlier than the one we're in that is substantially better. Like, the past is always worse.
The past is always worse.
I just read a study online about they dug down into some around this era priesthood, like the tombs of some old priest guys, and they're like, oh, they're like 76% parasite worms. And so if nothing else, care of. I think we have slightly fewer parasitic worms, in us. Not none.
2022 gets your vote for the better time to live because you're not riddled with parasitic worms.
I think it's a pretty good reason.
It's a good metric. It's a good metric.
Yeah.
I always laugh when people are like, "Oh man, this is the worst year ever. The society is going to collapse soon." And it's like, you have Postmates. What are you? What are you talking about?
Right.
For all the complaints about 2022, 2021 didn't even have Sandman season 1.
Right. So, this is the golden age of television. I mean, come on.
It's golden age for a bunch of nerds of a certain age wanting to nerd out about comics.
If you're over 40 years old.
Right.
If you're over 40 years old and you read the original Sandman comics, and if you ever wanted the Lord of the Rings and a Game of Thrones show to be on the air at the same time, guess what? You're in luck.
There's no better year than 2022.
Yeah. I mean, there is a pandemic that's sort of ongoing, but it's not causing giant goiters in your genital area.
There's no buboes under your arms.
There's no buboes. Any year without buboes is a better year.
Except the year Clash of the Titans came out, because that Bubo, the mechanical owl, is acceptable.
That's
is that character
Bubo.
named Bubo?
Yeah.
The owl.
Aw.
Yeah.
It is a cute word.
Yeah. It's a cute character.
Aw, Boobo.
The worst part of the remake of Clash of the Titans is when they pick up the mechanical owl and go, "This sucks," and throws it away. And I'm like, oh, I'm out. That's when I left the theater.
That one of many worst parts of that remake of Clash of the Titans. But back to the whole thing of like, one of you said any year in the past is worse than now. That's not how a lot of people think politically. They're like, we got to get back.
Sure.
We got to get back to the glory years.
Yeah.
The great times we all had in the 60s.
You only have to scratch a little bit before you're like, oh, you're awful. You're an awful.
Yeah, let's pick apart the words "we" and "all."
Let's define our terms a little bit.
I think it's like every dictator or horrible fascist ruler in history was like, guys, I'm just trying to get us back to the good old days.
Right.
Just trying to get us back to the glory days. So anybody that tells you that the past is a great time and it's something you want to live again, they are lying to you.
I mean, and also like to steer it back to me personally was, I think is the most important subject here. Like,
sure, yeah,
I'm not that much of a fan of me in the past. Like, me in the past has some issues, like more issues than I have now. And like, I have a child now, and life is even more complicated. But I still wouldn't go back to when I was 17 because it was awful.
That's what I heard this thing that your child will have will look like the father because it's supposed to make the father biologically in an evolutionary sense not want to leave because the father sees himself in the child. Have you ever heard this?
I have heard that. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And to me, I'm like, I don't want to see me again. I don't need to see a rerun of the time I shit my pants in the 6th grade at school,
Wow.
Well, we can talk about it if you want.
Yeah, do we want to unpack that?
I walked around, I shit my pants on the way to the bathroom, and instead of going back to class, or I just kind of walked the halls hoping no one would notice till the bell rang.
I mean, I don't want to pick a sore here or anything, but in some places, 6th grade is junior high.
Right. Well, come on. I was 11, and I hadn't really mastered kind of that muscular reflexes that you need.
Right.
Did you have to wear the school pants, the ones they pull out of like a cardboard box in the office?
Look, they feed you a lot of milk in the 6th grade. They're constantly giving you those little cartons of milk.
It's entirely too much dairy.
I probably had an undiagnosed lactose intolerance. Anyway, speaking of shitting your pants, should we travel back to a time when everyone was sort of covered in feces at all times, covered in fleas, covered in grime? Bathing was not a once a day or even every other day thing. We are going to go back to the 14th century. Now, I always give my little warnings or caveats before we start a historical game. The first is that we are not historians, so we are going to get some things wrong. I think it's interesting for you, the viewer, to kind of point out to us what we got wrong. Please, in the chat, let us know if there's a fact or something that we got wrong, because it just helps us all kind of learn about history. I don't know if hopefully some of you are PhDs in medieval studies, and you can kind of give us some background. But just
if
don't
you're
get
not,
mad
I
at
want
us.
to hear it.
Yeah, if you're not a PhD in medieval studies, this is going to sound harsh, but shut the fuck up. No, please share anything, intel you have about history and things like that. That said, please don't get mad at us when we get stuff wrong. Okay, second, history is full of intolerance. We are not going to necessarily focus on that intolerance, but we do wish to acknowledge that it exists. We're talking about racism, sexism, all the horrible isms. They exist now. They existed then. We're not going to create a story about them necessarily, but we do wish to say that we know that they were there and that they are, unfortunately, a major motivating force in history. So
we are going to celebrate classism.
Are we?
Probably not.
Maybe we will. But in general, we are not trying to celebrate any of those isms. And as we just said, we know that the past was a horrible place to live. All right. Our story begins today in September of 1369, 20 years after the Black Plague killed not-so-tall Robert and almost wiped out this family that has no surname because they are countrymen. They are not gentry. They have not earned a surname. They work the fields mostly. This family has had pretensions toward middle class quite a bit, but so far they have had a lot of problems reaching that level. They've had setbacks, and who wouldn't have had setbacks with famine and attacks by the French and plague all occurring during this family's existence. So you guys are playing new characters, the sons and daughters of the people you betrayed 20 years ago. Please tell us about these people. Let's start with Clinton Trucks.
So over the last number of sessions, none of my characters have found love and sired progeny. And then some of them chose to die of plague. So I am actually playing a new character called colloquially by the folks of the village, Jack the Hod. He's a big galoot, an oaf, called the Hod because he mostly is paid to carry heavy things around, bricks for the masons and whatnot. A young guy left town for a couple years after being conscripted, came back, found his farm had fallen to ruin, and now he's just a paid laborer helping out others.
Now let me ask you, Jack the Hod, in GURPS, you give your character disadvantages. GURPS is a very complicated point-buy system. Complicated can be a good thing in a role-playing game, but it is a pretty complex point-buy system. You've given your character the disadvantage clueless?
Yes, meaning he is slightly oblivious to people's motivations, things like.
And then I have easy to read as a disadvantage. What does that mean?
Easy to read, meaning that his own motivations are seen plainly on his face. So if I make any attempt to lie, dissemble, or deceive, people get an advantage to realize I'm doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, that is Jack the Hod. Matthew Capodicasa, who are you playing today?
I am playing Esther 2, daughter of Wilky and Agnes the Younger.
Right.
Younger sister of Esther 1 and older sister of other Wilky, younger Wilky the Younger.
So Agnes and Wilky just named two of their daughters Esther.
Yes.
I guess they figured one of the Esthers would die, but they both survived.
Esther was an important name in Agnes's family, and so she was able to wrangle that. But she was the first Agnes was a little frail, and she was worried. Yeah, she was going to kick it, so she named both daughters Esther, and then things turned out better than expected.
Talk about hedging your bets to just name another kid the same name. Because the first one's kind of frail. I mean, Esther 1 has to have a little bit of a complex about that.
It's true, she does, but then again, Esther 1 was really everybody's favorite because she was frail. Like, she was her mother's favorite, also her father's favorite before he got kicked in the head by a horse. And Esther 1, I will not to put too much of a thing on this, but Esther 1 was the more marriageable of the Esthers. She was fair of face and highly sought after amongst the peasants. Esther 2 was not as much. Though
Very good.
She is married.
Esther 2 is married. Is that what you said?
Yes.
What is Esther 2's husband's name? Do you know? Do you need a name for him?
I would love a name.
Let's get a name for him with this handy dandy medieval name generator.
It's probably John, honestly.
How about Brinley?
Brinley?
Brinley. Do you like that one?
I like it.
Okay. Esther, you have a husband named Brinley. Can you talk a little bit about Esther's advantages and disadvantages?
I can. Esther's advantages are common sense. So she basically, if I'm doing something foolish, you make an IQ check, and on a success, I'm warned about it.
Well, with this group, I feel like I'm going to be asking for a lot of IQ checks. Okay.
Yep. And then she is also pitiable, which I think is just because this particular era does not understand Esther 2's strengths.
Right.
And
so she's able to elicit pity from people.
Yes.
Okay.
Her disadvantage, though, she is impulsive. She grew up a little bit of a tomboy, a little bit of a tough one. I mean, it was a tough era. She had to be tough to survive all those buboes and also the wars. So yeah, she's a little bit impulsive. And so I have to make a self-control action whenever it would be wise to wait and ponder.
Right. Very good. So that is Esther 2. And finally, Erik, can you tell us about our friend? This character was a brother of your last character, Theodric.
Yes.
Because since 20 years have passed, either the characters we were playing before have entered in such an age of old age that they would be unplayable,
Right.
or they have maybe passed on. So you're playing Theodric's brother, Gwyn, who actually goes by a pseudonym now. Tell me about this character.
Yes, well, it's not so much a pseudonym as it is his new real name. Gwyn was the younger brother of Theodric, our bardic representative from the last session. Theodric, his songs inspired the whole community. They were largely about his father, Willem, who was the one who rescued the people from the burning church when the French attacked, and really Theodric, he moved on. He's traveling the world, spreading the word of the family, and Gwyn felt like it was time to step up to the plate. And really, what Gwyn has dedicated himself to is religion, and hearkening back to the sort of the John the Baptist of the family, if you will. Gwyn has taken on the name Bertram, but not like my first character, Bertram o' the Cave. This is Bertram o' the Cross, and he works with the local church. He's very big on the must be imminent beatification of his father, Willem, the martyr, and he just wants to make sure that if this family progresses in no other way, it's progressing toward almighty heaven. And Bertram o' the Cross.
Now, I do have here that as a disadvantage, Bertram of the Cross has a fanaticism, heretical doctrine.
Yes, but the funny thing, Jared, is that he doesn't consider that a disadvantage. He considers that an advantage. It is an unshakable faith in the sainthood of Bertram o' the Cave and Willem. It's probably both of them won't be saints, maybe neither eventually, but he's hopeful.
Talk about hedging your bets.
Yeah. Well, again, Willem is the martyr. Bertram is the psychedelic mushroom salesman who kind of started it all off. So there are still excursions to the cave from the church these days, but you understand. We're building a philosophy here.
Both of Bertram o' the Cross's disadvantages completely contradict his worldview, because he also has a disadvantage of delusion, receives messages from the divine.
Right, that in fact is a blessing. Thank you very much. And he receives messages from the divine. Now, that is often, I guess today we'd probably call it microdosing. But, the messages come through the earth, which comes through the fungus, which comes through the membranes in the body, which interacts with the humors, which releases the messages from Almighty God. It's complicated.
No, I understand. I think I totally see it. We've seen a little bit of this before in this game.
A little bit, yeah.
I think that what we should hear from each character is, what are you up to? And let's see if they're making a success of it by going over our GURPS basic mechanic again. Maybe we'll do a little skill roll. So you said that our friend Jack the Hod is mostly involved with the farming of the land for this family. Is that right?
Well, he is a hired hand. So whenever they need of him, lifting heavy things is probably the best use for him.
Well, on this beautiful day in September of 1369, what do you think he's engaged in? And let's see how he's doing. He doesn't have to be farming today. He could be doing something else.
Sure. I would say he also has done some work with the local mason, and let's say he's building a wall.
Great. Do you have a masonry skill?
I do have the masonry skill.
And what is your skill level for that masonry skill?
My masonry skill is 10.
10.
So not bad.
That's about a 50. What do you call that? Almost a 50% chance
Slightly
of
better
success? A little better than. So in GURPS, you roll 3d6s and you try to roll under your skill level. So right now, we're going to see so Jack the Hod is toiling away on this stone wall, spackling the rocks into place. And let's see how, and sweat is on his brow. It's a warm day for September, a warm day. The sun is shining down, and Jack the Hod, let's see how it goes.
All right. He's singing a simple song. He's a simple man. This is a 11, so the wall's not great.
Yeah. His work is a little shoddy. Maybe he is distracted, or perhaps he is, still suffering PTSD from his time as a soldier, and his thoughts are sort of drifting. Although I guess if he was suffering PTSD, that would manifest itself as a disadvantage on his sheet.
I think he's slightly too simple to lose much sleep over.
Well, he receives a reprimand from the man he's building the wall for. Listen here, Hod. These are all crooked. This isn't going to stay together.
These are the stones I was given, sir. Maybe if we spent a little and bought some actual brick, or...
Get on with ye. Get out of here. Go back to your family. I've no use for ye.
Well, this half-built wall may need some work tomorrow. Give me a call. I'll pick up my stuff and wander off.
Your work makes more work for me, Jack the Hod.
I will take some of the materials that were left there with me. I thought I could use them on another job.
Very good. And perhaps you're feeling a little bit sad about the reaction you've gotten. Let me say this. How attached are you to the family of Bertram of the Cross and Esther too?
So I think most of my family probably left our farm in the years I was gone, since they lost their main labor. So I might be quite attached to the family of Esther too and Bertram if they need me and keep me around.
I think that they do. I think that they shelter you, in fact, as they had to their farmhands like not-so-tall Robert in the past. So now you walk back to their farm, and that means walking quite a ways. In this time period, lacking carriages, and you certainly are not wealthy enough to own a horse. People just walked and walked and walked, and something that would take, 10 minutes in a car, as you all know, takes a lot longer on foot. And so you find yourself walking back to the farm, where I think perhaps you run into Esther 2. And Esther 2, what are you up to on this fine day?
Esther 2 is a seamstress, and I think she is probably working on clothes for the family to wear and labor in, because how else are we going to have stuff to wear? Or maybe she's making, sewing crosses onto Bertram's tunics.
Very good. Well, would she like to make something for Jack the Hod, or for something for Bertram? Maybe she could sew a cross onto a tunic for Bertram.
I'll sew a cross onto a tunic for Bertram. A cross with it's like got little mushrooms growing out of it, just to kind of make that do the family branding.
This is quite intricate. So I'm going to have you make a seamstress roll. What is the skill? Sewing. I'm going to have you make a sewing roll. But I'm going to give you a penalty because you're doing intricate little mushrooms and things, and you're making something that will be quite beautiful and impressive if you succeed. So what is your seamstress skill level, your sewing skill level?
13.
13? I'm going to have you make it at -2, so an 11.
All right. Let's see what happens. I got a 10.
There you go. So you have made actually a garment for Bertram of the Cross that is going to be impressive. It's going to look like it has these intricate like mushrooms and like weird curly Q kind of designs woven around it with a large cross in the middle. This is a garment worthy of a preacher that is going to turn heads and bring people to the true faith. And so you can take this now to Bertram, because you are all scheduled to go and see Bertram give a sermon.
Of course. What relation? I was just trying to figure this out in my head. Is Bertram my nephew, technically? Or are we like first cousins twice removed?
Bertram is Theodric's brother, who both of them were the sons of Willem, who were the sons of Bertram of the Cave.
That is
Bertram of the
complicated.
Cave's relation to Wilky was what? Brothers.
So I think we're going to be like first or second cousins. I'll work on it.
I'm just going to call you all cousins because it's so confusing.
Cousin.
I think cousins makes sense. I think
does make
that's what they would call each other. So, so where would Bertram give a sermon?
Well, Bertram still trying to build up some support for his sect, if you will. So he's going to talk to the local cooper and get like a barrel, a really nice barrel, just borrowing it, and put it right off to the side of the town criers in the marketplace. And now this campaign's been going on for quite some time. There's been many, many years. So some of the old voices of the marketplace, your Cianon, the sort of liberal town crier, your Miss Anne of Brittany, they are no longer around. In fact, the plague went through them like knife through butter. So now there's a couple of new preachers, more new media, if you will. One of them's name is Matthew Dredger. Another one's Alexander O. the Wars. I'm going off to the side of those guys, and I'm going to preach on top of my barrel a sermon about the great Willem, soon to be a saint.
So before you start,
yes,
your family member Esther 2, and perhaps Jack the Hod as well, and the rest of the family sort of arrives to support you. And Esther 2, do you want to give Willem his garment?
Cousin
Bertram his garment.
Cousin Bertram, I made you a nice tunic for you to wear during your sermon. Perhaps attract the eyes of the penitent and those who don't believe.
Bertram looks very happy, and he reaches out a hand, and that's when everyone notices, kind of for the first time. Bertram O' the Cross is 38 years old, but he looks like he's 47. And he's fairly kind of not super strong guy. And he says, thank you very much, Esther 2. This shall do quite splendidly. And, it's so warm in the
Allow me to put it on you.
Oh, yes.
Esther
I'm
2
sensing
is...
some sexual tension. I'm sensing sexual tension.
No, it's religious.
No.
It's all
Okay,
religious.
sorry.
Yeah.
I misread that. Okay.
And
he puts his little arm through the first. It's so. Is that satin? Oh, it's so nice. Of course, it's not satin.
Go on.
It's probably a kind of a scratchy burlap type material, but it doesn't
Somewhat
matter. It looks
less
awesome.
rough
It looks
spun than the
fantastic.
other garments you have made. And this inlay.
I've been working on my skills.
And God has blessed every member of the family in different ways, and the way that He blessed you is with your sewing skills, Esther, too, among other things.
I have other talents, cousin.
Of course. The benefits of Almighty God have poured upon this family are manifold.
She is so pitiable, Bertram, you just kind of want to talk down to her a little bit because she's just such a cuts such a pathetic figure.
And I'm going to put a hand on her shoulder and I'm going to say, God delivers the greatest blessings to the weakest and most pathetic among us, Esther, and by that measure, you are the greatest scion this family has ever had.
And Esther, trying to work her way through the twisty logic of that backhanded compliment, just says, "Thank you, cousin. Thank you."
And Jack, only hearing the compliment, and just nods.
Jack the Hod is
Jack
here
the
as
Hod.
Well, Jack,
you've
you
come
might have
for the
been-
sermon.
You may have been right prior to walking up here, mixing with the town folk that are throughout the square here, where Bertram's about to give his sermon. So, would you like to find out if you learn anything from them or hear their gossip a little bit?
Well, I actually do have. I prefer of the new media criers. Was it Matthew Dredger?
Matthew Dredger, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I go get the Dredge report and see what he has to say about the local goings on
Okay.
in the county.
Sure. So, right. He is decrying Edward's laborer's law. Right after the plague, there was a chance at a better life. There were so few laborers that people could ask more money, ask for more pay for their labor, and if it got competitive where they could move to different households. If one wasn't paying enough, the other would pay more. But then Edward III sent a bunch of law through Parliament, making all the wage levels stay at pre-plague levels, and made it illegal to switch from household to household. So if you were on a farm, you couldn't move to a different farm for better wages. And so the peasantry was stuck back where they were before the plague, earning no benefit from a market that should have benefited them. And so that is what the Drudge is decrying.
Well, moved by any persuasive speaker, I am completely convinced that this is a terrible thing that's been done.
Yeah, and people have been complaining about it for a while because those laws went into place like in the 1350s, but people are still saying, we had our chance 10 years ago, and now we're stuck.
I'm not going to rouse any rabble, but we should do something about this.
Okay, great. Jack the Hot immediately catches on to any particular cause that is thrown his way. So yeah, you're like, we should do something about this, and other townsfolk are kind of like, yeah, but what? And right about this time, it is time for Bertram of the Cross to make his presence known and to give his sermon.
Jack the Hard, could you help me before the sermon? Come, my boy, my son. Jack the Hard, come.
Yes.
I come from the crowd. Put your hand like
Popping
this, please, my child. Like, make a stirrup of your hand. Ah, yes, and I put my foot right in his hand. Help me up on the barrel, old boy.
Lift him like a little child.
I love that this guy is 38.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's been a hard... I almost didn't make it through the plague.
Yeah.
I kind of do a little bit of a swish, so that the robe kind of displays itself in its voluminosity and all of the beautiful pattern that Esther II has put into it. I note the little mushroom designs harkening back to my forefather Bertram of the Cave. And with that inspiration, I say, my people, gather round for a sermon from the book of the Acts of Willem. I shall read from the words of Theodoric himself. Chapter 2, verse 3. The fires of Portsmouth were seen from afar. Like a knife through the city, the flames left a scar. But Willem the Mighty, unshackled from fear, knew that his family must surely be near. And he just keeps telling the story of the French attack, and this is the meat of the Willem legend. What
it's interesting.
Yeah.
His sermon sounds a little bit like The Night Before Christmas.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The same
on
general
Bertram,
rhythm.
on Theodoric, on Wilky and Esther.
Well, let's see how well his sermon is received. I like
All
that it's
right.
in verse. That's good. And
It's
what
literally
skill
a
do you
quote
have?
from Theodoric's songs last session. They live. It's the living gospel, if you will.
Excuse me, Naish, I have a cold, so occasionally I'm going to be going like that or like that. If you're just listening to the podcast, you don't know that I just raised a tissue to my face and that there's a giant long string of green snot currently hanging from my nose. Excuse me, everyone. All right, so let's see. What skill do you have in this way?
I think public speaking is probably the way to go with this one. I got a 12.
Well, actually, I'm going to give you +2 for a 14 because of this beautiful garment you're wearing.
Excellent.
Can I help him by clodding people who aren't paying attention, shouting, "It's the Bible, pay attention"?
Yes, you can. I'm not sure exactly how GURPS handles aid, But I think that what I'll do is have you make a skill roll first, and if it's successful, I'll give even another bonus to our friend Bertram of the Cross. So what skill are you using to clod people?
Brawl feels a little strong, so let's just make it let's say like a dex roll. I'm just kind of clouding people on the ears, being like, pay attention to the Bible when it's read.
What about perception to see if you notice people who aren't paying attention?
I can definitely do that.
Let's do that.
That as well. 10 on 8, so I don't notice anybody.
Okay, yeah, you're not that effective. Okay, go ahead with a 14. How does the public speaking go?
I rolled an 11.
An 11, very good. So the crowd is enraptured. They love your verse. They are.
It's not my verse; it's Theodric's verse.
Right. They are convinced of the beatification, the holy and divine existence of Willem. You have them in the palm of your hand. Is there anything you'd have them do, or?
Why, yes, my friends. My family has long dwelled in Portsmouth town and its environs. We draw our power and our connection to the Almighty God from our blood, but also from the earth upon which that blood has spilled over the decades.
Here, and he fiddles around in a pouch, and he opens a pouch, and he starts pulling out these little dried fungus pieces, and he starts handing them out.
He says, it is through the holy sacrament of the cave mushroom that we communicate with our forefathers and with the land itself. And I promise this is not heretical. Please take your own sort of communion. This is not blasphemy. Please, here, another.
And he starts handing out little caps.
Everybody, yes, and they are taking them, and they are going to eat them. But everybody can make a perception roll now.
And these, by the way, are not like Super Duty Grateful Dead concert, mushrooms. These are more just sort of get you in the mood for a oceanic moment kind of mushrooms.
Right.
Everyday household mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever came out of the cave, right?
Right.
So what is everybody's perception roll doing for you?
Fail. 12
Missed
over
it by
10.
1.
I think Esther 2 probably took 2 mushrooms.
Yeah.
1 for each Esther.
By the way, we're first cousins once removed.
Ah, thank you.
That's great.
Your great-grandfather was my grandfather.
I can never keep that all straight, like first cousins, second cousins, once removed, all that. How did you do on your perception roll, Clinton Trucks, aka Jack the Hot?
9 on an 8, so fail, but not crazy.
So none of you notice until they are among you the group of men-at-arms led by someone from the liege lord of the area. This, of course, Harold Hayter.
Yes.
Who, yes, well, he passed. It's been many years since you've seen Harold Hayter, but his son, Harlow Hayter, Harlow Hayter, which is actually a medieval name, has sent some agents here among the crowd, and one of them comes forward with a writ in hand and says Gwyn, also known as Bertram of the Cross.
Yes, welcome, pilgrims. Join us. It is a
You are
blessed
charged
moment.
with heresy and blasphemy against the word of God. Our orders are to take you to the keep. Grab him. And some men-at-arms come forward to grab you.
Can Esther Chu throw herself in front of Bertram of the Cross?
Certainly.
Oh, please, don't take my first cousin once removed. Without his spiritual guidance, we would have nothing. Nothing. And I'm extra pitiable when I do it.
All right. So let's see how this goes. I mean, you are extra pitiable. This is normally a reaction roll thing. So
you take a plus
but you get
3.
+3 on your reaction roll. Yeah. So let me get out the reaction table here, and let's see how you do.
I am but a poor seamstress and farm wife. Without Bertram's guidance, where would we be? We would starve.
You are so pitiable that your +3 is in effect. Let's see how they react to you. Ooh. That's a 13 + 3 is a 16. Very good. The NPC thinks highly of the PC and is quite helpful and friendly.
Pitiable's great.
Yeah, that really helped. So they go, Miss, please, take your feet. I'm sorry, miss, but this doctrine that your first cousin once removed, is sharing among the people of Portsmouth is heretical. Now, I have been charged with taking him to the jail, where he will be held for trial.
Not the jail.
And I simply cannot disobey my orders, and even though it pains me to hurt your kin. What are we to do here?
What if we were to offer you something as a bond, perhaps? And he wouldn't have to go to the jails before trial.
Bond?
Bond.
You mean he would await trial outside of the dungeon?
Yes.
And you, ma'am, you could assure us that he would not flee?
And Esther, too, draws a knife and says, he definitely won't.
Wow. Well, good thing the reaction to you was very good. So they
Put
go.
the knife back. They know
Yes.
I'm threatening my own first cousin. Make it clear.
Do I see that from on top of the barrel, or is that
Certainly.
more like you're doing it surreptitiously?
Oh,
in
wait,
front of
yeah.
you?
Vantage from the barrel.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I think I try to do it surreptitiously. I don't think I'm very
Okay.
good at being surreptitious, though.
Well, I'm lost up in my own moment, so I probably don't notice that.
Well, we can do rolls to see if you
Yeah,
notice.
I
Would
guess
you
it
like
is
to
a
do that?
game, right?
Give me a perception roll, and then what would we use to be stealthy, Esther 2? I guess
Knife?
in your case, yeah, I guess knife would work, yeah. Knife skill versus perception.
I pass.
Yeah, I made it by 1.
How many did you make it by, Matthew?
I rolled an 8 under a 13.
Nice.
Oh, okay, so you don't notice Bertram.
Bertram's thinking in his head, like, oh, perhaps this is where I get martyred. Oh.
Very well. Very well, fine lady. We will allow you to take your own custody of your first cousin once removed, and assure his honesty in appearing for trial in 5 days.
Thank you, gentlemen of Lord Hayter's detail. I don't know your rank, actually. But thank you, bless you. Take
we
the
are his
blessings of God
men-at-arms.
upon you.
Very good. And they head back out of the square to go report back to Harold Hayter. I'm sorry, Harlow Hayter. Harold Hayter is dead. And so you have successfully handled them, and our friend Bertram of the Cross hasn't been dragged off to a dungeon somewhere.
This town is getting more and more dangerous every day.
There is suddenly sort of a bustle and a buzz among the townsfolk here in the square, and you see some of them running off toward the docks.
Maybe there are ships in the docks that go to other towns that we should look into.
Maybe they had a list of other people to arrest.
Should we go investigate?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I'll lift Win off the barrel.
Careful. My hip.
All right. Yeah. So you're all going to investigate. Is that you don't have to. You could be like, I'm not interested in that. I go back to the farm. You all want to go check out what's happening?
We live in a
Took
world where
half my
nothing
crowd.
happens. We need-
Right. And that's why the crowd is maybe pretty excited that as you approach the docks, you see that there are 2 really large ships off of the a little ways away from the dock, but they're clearly pulling up to the city, and they are flying English flags.
Oh, thank goodness! I was worried the French had returned.
Yes.
One of them says, could be that the king has sent some soldiers to protect us.
Well, what luck?
You know that
from
French
what?
king has broken the treaty, don't you?
Tell us more.
The treaty between England and France. The French king has broken it.
Those Frenchies?
Yes. Don't like French people very much.
It appears the war is going to go on.
Uh-oh.
So the 100 Years' War.
I don't got the boots for that.
The 100 Years' War raged for a while, and then in 1346 and thereabouts, Edward the Black Prince, he succeeded in a number of really crucial victories, which kind of gave the English the upper hand. And at that point, there was a treaty signed that gave England a bunch of territories in France. But after a while, the French got really tired of, and there's a complicated reason it all broke down, but the French got sort of tired of giving England all of these territories, and they saw an opportunity to go ahead and break the treaty, an excuse to break the treaty, and so the war is back on, and the second phase of the war started in 1369. So these large ships are kind of docking, and they have big English flags on them, and people are rushing up to meet them. Do you guys go and rush up to meet them, or do you hang back, or what do you do?
Esther is
I'm not inclined to
impulsive.
fight the French again.
Esther's impulsiveness compels her to go up and know more and meet these soldiers.
Her impulsiveness. Yes, that makes sense.
I best follow Esther. She gets herself into so much trouble, that poor lass. Perhaps there'll be new converts from the ships. I'm gonna follow.
Very good. So out of the ships come, smaller boats, and they are moving toward the shore. And you are right up front at the docks as these men get close. And they are dressed in the accoutrement of, let me see. How familiar are you guys with, the dress of soldiers?
Not at all.
Quite.
I am very familiar, but Esther is probably not.
Okay.
Actually, have the
someone give me a
soldier's
skill
skill.
roll to kind of look at how they're dressed? And
Would you allow me to roll sewing?
yes, at a -3.
Okay.
I made my soldier skill with an 8 on an eye.
Very well done. And how did Esther do?
Esther fails by 1.
Okay. Jack the Hod, you are pretty clueless though, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. These are not English soldiers.
Oh dear.
However, you are clueless. So I would like for you to interpret your disadvantage the way that you'd like to interpret it.
Boy. How would he interpret people who are they in English soldier uniforms?
No,
They're simply flying the flag.
They're just flying the flag, yeah. But there are things about their kit that don't seem like exactly like English
Sure.
soldiery.
Well, Dems is not the king's soldiers, certainly. I imagine they're just celebrating the war to come. They're probably just ramped up about the idea that we're going to go and fight again, so they're flying the colors. Huzzah, lads! I'll start.
So
waving
you don't let on to the others that these are not Englishmen.
Oh no, I do shout Dems is not the king's soldiers.
Okay, them's is not the king's soldiers. All right, let's see how the crowd reacts. All right, let me get that reaction table out again. I'm giving you no bonus. All right, I rolled a 9. Poor. The crowd ignores you. I'm going to say that's the poor reaction. And soon these soldiers are up on the dock, and suddenly you guys hear screams from the front of the crowd, and you see an axe go up and come down on a Englishman from Portsmouth, Unfortunately, you have described yourself as impulsively going to really the front of the crowd, so you are all directly threatened by these French soldiers. You can hear them now shouting in French. The French have come attacking
Again.
Portsmouth again. Yes.
Again.
Let's go in speed order. Your basic speed. What is your basic speed, each of you?
Jack the Hod's basic speed is 5.75.
Yes, GURPS, where characters can have a stat that is 5.75.
Fractional speeds. They matter.
All right, what about my friend Esther 2?
Esther 2's basic speed is 5.25.
And what about our friend Bertram of the Cross?
Bertram of the Cross was blessed with many miracles, but a bad hip, unfortunately, is the worst of them, and his speed is 5.00.
Okay, and these soldiers are actually at 5.25 like Esther. So I think that we'll give the PC the benefit of the doubt and let the soldiers go after Esther 2. So Jack the Hod, when you see this happening, what do you do?
So, my immediate inclination is to fight. Fighting the French is something I was trained to do. So, but I don't know if I'm so dumb. May I? I'm not. I'm dumb, but I'm not like disabled. I'm going to. Are there archers or crossbowmen or anybody on the boat who we need to worry about?
Are there archers or crossbowmen? There certainly are archers, yes. And they are aiming their... You see now in the boats that are approaching the dock that there are people pulling bows and pulling back arrows to fire into the crowd.
Then defending this dock is not a good move. I'm going to grab up Esther and Bertram and retreat, run.
Okay, you're going to try to get off of the dock with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of skill roll that could reflect your success or failure at being able to do that? Maybe it's an attribute roll.
Sure.
And also, we need to make sure that Esther and Bertram allow you to kind of hustle
Indeed.
them away.
So, I know how much I can lift.
Yes, you know your exact basic lift, but no, I think that you're trying to kind of get them to retreat, and perhaps that is a function of your IQ. It's convincing them to go, right? Because I don't believe Jack the Hod has a skill that would fit.
I don't.
That okay,
but I will say this isn't a winnable fight, and I'll try and clasp each of them in my meaty paws.
I'm gonna call this finding a route through the crowd that will be a successful, like, quick escape. Okay.
Okay.
And leading your friends with it. IQ -2.
All right. Oh, a wild failure. Rolling for 6. Got a 15.
Okay. Oh, Jack the Hod's IQ is quite low. You're like, this way, and you stumble into like the crowd that everybody is now running from the dock, and you're unable to push through them with speed. Okay, so now we come to Esther 2.
Esther 2 wants to fight. She's impulsive.
She is impulsive. Well, there is a French soldier right in front of you who just cut down one of your townsfolk, your fellow townsfolk, with an axe. Esther 2, what would you like to do?
She would like to scream at the top of her lungs that starts out as a scream of terror and then becomes a kind of battle cry. And she draws her knife and tries to just drive it right into the guy's throat.
Very good. Let's have a knife skill roll. And I don't think she has to really move. I think that because you said you were right at the front, you're already in melee range of this guy. So you don't have to do what's called in GURPS a move and attack, which gives you a penalty. You can just attack. Now, you could do what's called an all-out attack if you want. Do you think that Esther 2 would do an all-out attack? It would mean that her defenses, when it's their turn, are lower, but that she has more of a chance to hit, I believe. All-out attack. Yes, you could do it and have a +4 to hit.
I don't think she has the wherewithal to like really study it. Like it seems like that's giving her a better chance to land a blow. And I don't think she's just like and just like
right.
drives
She's just wildly attacking. Oh, no problem. Okay, so you step and attack, and you may roll your knife skill.
I roll a 12 under 13.
12 under 13. Very good.
That, if we're using hit location, is enough. She said she's going for the throat. Which is -5, she would hit. If she's going for the throat.
Wow. Okay. Then you stab into this French soldier's throat, and we could do everything that the knife does. We could roll the d6 minus. Do you know what your knife's damage is by any chance?
Let's see.
It's usually like a die, one die, which means one 6-sided die minus something, like a minus.
Yeah. I've looked up. I think a knife might be like 1d6 -2 or something.
But I think because you hit in the throat, let's go ahead and forego it for right now. Clinton Trucks, find out how much damage that knife does. But I think let's play a little looser. That knife hits home in the throat. A geyser of blood comes out and splashes onto Esther 2's face. And she kills one of the French soldiers here in the first sortie. And we are going to find out if she survives their counterattack when we come back from a short ad break. This is the calamitous 14th century, a GURPS campaign here in the Game Garage on the Glass Cannon Network. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Garage here on the Glass Cannon Network, where we are playing through the calamitous 14th century. We're in Portsmouth, England, in the year 1369, and the French have attacked again. Feels like we just went through this 40 years ago. Here they are again. So, we have just seen Esther 2 savagely stab a French soldier in the throat as the French swarmed the dock where our PCs were congregating to watch the ships come in. And Clinton Trucks, you said that how much damage does an attack to the throat do?
It does ×2 damage, and for Esther that would be 1d -1.
Okay, I think that we can forego the actual damage roll right now, because I think at ×2 damage, you certainly have at least incapacitated this man. However, it is now the turn of the French soldiers, and what I'm going to do is I am going to see if they count you guys as targets, like they see you as targets, because Esther probably killed the one that was, or incapacitated the one that was the closest to all three of you. Let's see if any of the others, of which right now, right near you on the dock, there are 4. Let's see if any of them immediately pick you out as targets. So, well, how would we do that? Why don't we call it a reaction roll? And is it modified by anything? You guys, I think it's going to be modified by the fact that Esther just killed one. So I think that they're going to definitely notice that. Or possibly notice it. Let's say possibly notice it. Should it be a reaction roll? No, I think it should be more of a perception roll. Here they go. All right, they definitely succeeded in that. So let's see, of the 4, 1 is definitely moving toward Esther 2. He has a spear in his hand. He runs forward, screaming at you in French. This is an ugly cuss. He has big, full lips and a nasty scar over his nose. And he takes his spear and he leans back and he attacks poor Esther 2. A woman!
I'm very pitiable.
What a cur.
She says, covered in blood.
You are pitiable. Should I give a reaction roll before he...
It might make her a less vital target.
I think we should do a reaction roll. I think we should do a reaction roll with pitiable to see if he even thinks you're worth murdering.
Clutch disadvantage.
Clutch. No,
Or is it
being
an advantage?
pitiable is an
It
advantage.
is actually an
I see.
advantage.
Okay, good,
It
good.
is
That makes sense.
actually an advantage. Here we go. Let's see. All right, so I didn't roll as high as I have before, but it's a 6-2 and then +3 for the pitiable. So that is 8 + 3 gets you to 10 to 11. He is neutral to you, and I'm afraid neutral is enough for the stabbing of his comrade to take him over the, over the line, and he will go
I
ahead
don't want to get stabbed.
and attack you with
No one
a
likes it.
spear. And his spear roll is over his skill, and so he jabs the spear at you, but he just snags part of your dress, perhaps, Esther, too, and rips. Yeah, oh no, you sewed that yourself.
Esther's eyes is just like the fire overtakes Esther's eyes. She just sees red. She sees the tear in the seam of her, not on the seam of her dress. And worse, it's not on the seam.
Yes, the other soldiers are hacking away at other citizens, and you can see that they are fully making a beeline into the middle of town as easily as they can as they hack away at citizens. Some are one of the 4 soldiers is grabbing someone and pulling him back, like trying to throw shackles on him. So they are apparently also taking prisoners. Bertram of the Cross, it's your turn.
All right. So much commotion, so much bloodshed. This is terrifying. Bertram, I would like to make a area knowledge Portsmouth check to see like where is the closest either escape route or hiding place or what. I spent a lot of time proselytizing in this part of town, and maybe I'm aware of some nook and cranny or something that can give us an opportunity to get the hell out.
That's a great idea. Go ahead and give me that area knowledge Portsmouth check.
I got a 10, and my area knowledge Portsmouth is 11.
Very good. So a good place to hide where you don't think that they will like burn it or attack it. And I'm going to say that it is an abandoned building.
Okay.
That is, but it's definitely within running distance of here.
Okay.
So, when they rebuilt the town last time, this was just like one of the buildings that was left over from a long time ago. So it doesn't scream out, hey, this place needs to be burnt down. Like it's already kind of in ruins, right?
All right. Cool.
Why ruin a place that's already ruined? So you could run there, but I think your area knowledge is instant. It's a free action. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to. Would you like to try to make a move through all of these people?
Yeah,
this
well,
crowd?
first I'm going to say,
Jack the Hod, Esther 2, follow me. I know where we can go and hide.
and I'm going to try and, weave my way through the crowd like a little kid trying to escape at the end of the church sermon where all the moms are talking to each other afterwards. I'm just weaving between legs, getting the hell out.
Great. I think if we're weaving, and because we have no skill necessarily, I think it's going to be dexterity.
Okay.
I don't think it's like you're using a skill without training. I think it's just a dexterity thing. So give me a straight dexterity roll.
I missed it by 4.
By 4. So you don't get pushed off the dock or anything, but other people do. You can see that all of these people that are kind of trying to run all at once, some of them are being pushed off into the water, screaming as they fall off the side because everybody is rushing at once. So you're unable to get out of the crowd, and you aren't able to cover much distance. And we will come back to the beginning of the order with Jack the Hot.
Jack the Hot's going to look at Esther 2. Is she looking like she's going to listen to Bertram that we should be fleeing, or is she in this fight?
I was going to throw myself at the mercy of the rules and roll a self-control check to overcome my impulse.
I love that.
Great. So right now, Jack the Hod, the answer is that she looks quite out of control. The self-control check on her turn will change things possibly.
Then my action will be I'm going to attempt to grab the extended spear that was attempting to stab Esther. wrench it out of this French cur's hands.
There's also the weapon of the guy who I stabbed, probably.
That's
Yes.
true. There's an axe.
He had
on
an
it.
axe.
I don't know how to use it.
Okay, so you're going to try to disarm this other French soldier and take
Yeah, I'm going to
his
try and
spear
muscle
from
it
him.
out of his arms. Yeah.
Interesting. What are you going to use to do that?
So I'm going to make an unarmed attack on the spear, just trying to grab it, and then I'm hoping it'll be strength versus strength for me to just wrench it out of his hands.
Strength versus strength to wrench it out of his hand sounds very, very reasonable. I'm currently in the index looking at disarm, looking for disarm.
It's going to show you a disarm maneuver, which is like a fencing thing. That's not really what we're doing.
No, it's not at all. I think I like your solution for it. So, can you make first a brawl attack, and then we'll do strength versus strength?
Yep.
Okay, great.
5, 9 on a brawl of 11.
You managed to get inside his guard, grab a hold of his spear, and now you're both like struggling over the spear. I love this. Oh, these brave countrymen defending England. All right, and so now let's do strength versus strength. You ready?
All right. I'm ready.
Go.
Heyo. All right. 5 on 14.
9 on 11, you win. Jack the Hod wrenches the spear from this French soldier. Incredible. And I think that's your entire turn, unless you disagree. So. Okay, very good. And that brings us to Esther 2.
All right, so what Esther 2 wants to do is to just try to stab the throat of the guy who just lost the spear.
Okay, so we've changed our mind about that self-control roll.
No, I'm saying that's her instinct, is to go just like keep on going on a stabbing spree. But the smarter move would probably be to retreat. So
That's what happens if you fail the self-control roll.
Yeah, so if I fail self-control roll, I'm going to try to stab the guy. So what
if
do
I
roll
understand
for
correctly, self-control roll is a will roll.
Okay.
Esther 2's will is not incredible. It's 10.
Yep. Here we go. I rolled a 16.
Okay, that's almost what you might call a critical miss in GURPS. So nope, she's still stabby.
So I go to drive my knife straight through, maybe just like the face or neck of the now weaponless soldier.
I'm gonna call this soldier unfortunate facial hair.
Okay.
So it's like a really natty blonde mustache.
Ooh.
Yeah, underneath his helm. All right, going for another neck stab. Are you calling the shot, or are you just trying to stab him?
No, I want to go for another neck stab, actually.
All right. How do we call this shot, Clint? It's a negative, right? To the roll?
It's going to be your skill -5 to hit him in the neck.
Okay, so I got to
Do you want to try that?
No, that's.
And we've not done any defensive rolls. I guess
you did it last time.
I'm just going to try to stab him anywhere.
Okay.
Do I have to move to get to him?
I think that you... No, we've established that he was kind of right beside the other guy, because he attacked you, didn't he?
Oh, he attacked me, right.
So, yeah, he's already in melee range of you.
So, pitiable Esther, young, unassuming farm wife and seamstress, leaps from just carving out the throat of one soldier to try to stab at the next. She rolls. Oh, she's gonna miss. Okay, yeah, that's... Oh, no, she hits. That's a 12 under 13.
There you go. Let's do the knife's damage, which I think you said is 1d6 -1, Clint?
Yes.
Okay.
That's gonna be 4 damage.
4 damage. Okay. Great. But of course, you didn't hit in the throat this time. No. You hit where the man is armored. So, hitting his mail shirt, your 4 damage seems to go askance, go awry, and you feel like you don't get like a good puncture into that mail shirt.
I hate when that happens.
I don't blame you. Of course, none of our PCs are using armor because they are simple peasant folk. This is a game about simple peasant folk trying to just to survive, not warriors.
We're gonna die on this dock. It's not good.
Maybe you will. And today's episode will be a little shorter. Let's see. It is now the French soldier's turn, and because you have attacked one directly, that French soldier is going to attack you. However, I believe he is bereft of weapon.
There's no weapon.
Indeed.
Yep, so he's just going to do a brawl attack against you, Esther. And he is going to critically hit because he got a... excuse me, he got a 3. I rolled 3
I was going to tell you
ones.
to dodge, but the odds of you getting a critical dodge seem pretty slim.
All
It's
right,
a good
what
thing
if-
that he has his fist and not his spear anymore.
So for dodge, I could just roll under my dodge skill.
Right.
I'd have to roll
yes,
a
would you like to
critical.
try that?
Yeah, why not? Right? Is there a reason not to?
I don't see why not. Everybody gets to dodge on their round. Why not? In the round, so you could try it.
All right, so I have to get a. So I gotta roll under an 8. Obviously difficult. But
Well, no, he critically succeeded, so you need a critical dodge to dodge a critical.
Oh,
That's
no.
okay. I rolled an 11, so it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. All right, Clinton Trucks, do you perhaps know what a hand-to-hand attack does?
Do you know how
Damage?
strong your gentleman is?
I do.
Does he derive
What's
his
his rank?
power from an excess of bad facial hair?
Yes, he does. What's the answer to our equation, Mr.
Well,
Clinton
I
Trucks?
need to know how strong he is. There's a
Oh,
table.
I hate giving away the stats of my NPCs, but
Then
he is a...
page 16 of the basic book will also show you the table that I'm on.
Oh, okay, page 16. I'll just go ahead and tell you. He has a strength of 11.
And his thrust damage is 1d minus 1 crushing, as opposed to 1d1.
1d minus 1.
She's been doing with it.
But he got a critical hit, so that means he... I'm
Choose
gonna
how
rule
handle
that
it. You could
I'm gonna
double
rule that he
damage
does
or-
max damage. I'm gonna rule that he
There you
does
go.
max damage, not double damage. Is if you were playing a fantasy 20 game, D20 game, but max damage. So since his max damage is 5, he does 5 damage just punching you in the face, Esther 2. Esther 2, what is your health?
My health is 9, so my HP is also 9, right? Which means I am now at 4.
Esther 2, I'm going to apply, I'm not sure if this is a GURPS rule, it's maybe more of a Jared Logan rule. I would love for a health roll right now, and if you fail it, I think that maybe his blow is going to bring you to your knees, maybe even knock you unconscious.
Okay. Health roll.
So you can do a knockdown roll here, and a hit to the face is knockdown minus 5. Almost certainly should have.
I fail my health roll.
Okay, so I think that you do fall, collapse to the bottom of the dock, and now you are a bit inert at the moment. You're dazed. All right. Let's see if any of our other French soldiers pick out Jack the... well, one has definitely picked out Jack the Hod as a threat. And so he will move forward and attack Jack the Hod.
All right.
This is one of the ones that hasn't acted yet. So one is shackling a peasant. One has just been cutting down peasants, and that is the one that moves forward to Jack the Hod, who just ripped a spear out of his friend's arms and attacks with his spear. Oh, it's a good roll. He rolled under his skill by 4. So he's going to do his...
with a spear.
You want to dodge?
I'm going to attempt to dodge. Yes.
Okay. Now you have a weapon, so you can parry, but
My parry
that-
would be worse than my dodge.
yeah, you should do your dodge.
So rolling for an 8, I rolled a 7.
You successfully dodge out of the way of his spear thrust.
Great.
Nicely done. And then that brings us to Bertram. Oh, the cross. Still trying to
Right.
get off this dock.
Yeah, so he's on the dock. He looks down at these peasants who have been pushed into the water, who are presumably struggling to stay above the surface, and he looks down at them and he says,
Confess your sins, the kingdom of heaven approaches.
and then he thinks a little bit. What's
what's the villain situation around him? Is he being directly harassed by?
No, it's so far he has been ignored, possibly because he hasn't like put himself in the fray.
Right.
Well, he is a man of the cloth. He does not have a weapon. His weapon is his faith.
And so he's going to try to, again, he'll say, he turns back and he says, Jack, Esther, and then he sees Esther's on the ground. And he wants to leave, and he wants to flee. But he pities Esther. He can't leave poor, defenseless, maybe mentally deranged Esther all alone in the hands of the vile French. So instead of fleeing, he's going to bolster a little bit of strength, and he's going to go and try and pick up his first cousin.
Once removed.
And see if he might be able to ferry her to safety.
First cousins once removed have to stick together. I've always
right.
said that.
You wouldn't want to be twice removed.
Yeah.
Never.
All right. I think that's just a strength roll.
Oh, goody.
And it also requires movement. You kind of moved closer to the center of the fight here.
Okay. Well, I got an 8 out of 10.
Oh, well, then you succeed. You heft Esther onto your back.
Oh, God.
And I can tell you that at this point, we will allow some of the peasants to act, and some of them that haven't fallen off the dock into the water actually manage to make the path clearer now, right? Like, they have successfully moved off of the dock deeper into the town, and they are running away. So the way is a bit clearer, but you have used your turn to pick up Esther too, and that brings us back to the top of the order with Jack the Hod.
Jack the Hod is going to now use his newly acquired spear to stab, I think at the second soldier, the one who has a spear. Or
The one that just attacked
threat.
you. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take a -3 on that roll and aim for the vitals.
Ooh.
And going for a 9, and I got a 4, 6, 8. 8 on 9. That's what I was looking
Hey, there you go.
for. Is he going to defend it all?
Yes, he will try to dodge. And he will fail while rolling a massive 16.
Great. I'm going to... that hit to the vitals will be a flat 1d impaling damage,
Okay.
of which I rolled a 3. However, impaling damage to the vitals is ×3, so 9 damage.
Oh my god. So you get up under his mail shirt, right into his innards, and your spear hits important organs that do important jobs, and blood spurts out of his mouth, and he falls to his knees. He is, for all intents and purposes, incapacitated. And I mentioned there were only 4 Frenchmen on this dock. You've taken out 2 of them.
Holy moly.
It's true. Jack is a little like when you see Forrest Gump in Vietnam, right? Just kind of like doing the job he was trained to do.
Yeah. Very good. All right, excellent turn. And then we come to Esther 2. Esther 2, if you give me a health roll, you can come to. You can kind of suddenly get your wits about you again.
Okay, I make an 8 under 9.
There you go. So you find yourself suddenly, you blacked out for a minute, but now you're on Bertram of the Cross's shoulder.
Do I still have my knife in my hand?
That's an interesting question. Give me a. Let's just make it chance. I'm gonna give it a 10. You do not.
All right. Well, then I'm just going to swing wildly at anything resembling Frenchman as Bertram carries me to wherever he carries me.
Well, there was a Frenchman right near you that just clobbered you before Bertram picked you up. So why don't you give me a brawl roll, which would be probably strength minus, let's call it 3.
Okay. Very small chance that I actually connect here. No. 9 Under 6. Over
No,
6.
you're just flailing madly as Bertram tries to drag you away. And that is when this soldier that just clobbered you is going to try to grab you and pull you out of Bertram's grasp.
Oh, come on, sir.
Can I dodge that?
I think because you are on top of Bertram has to dodge it.
Yeah, can I dodge it?
You can't.
Oh boy, my dodge is not good. Oh boy, did I fail.
Okay, that is unfortunate because he did manage to successfully grab onto Esther 2's arms as Esther 2 was flailing at him. And now it's strength versus strength, Bertram versus this French soldier.
Unhand my first cousin once removed, villain. I'm not very strong.
I missed it by 1.
Okay, let's see. He succeeded by 1.
Oh, have pity on her, sir.
I'm going to say that he has pulled Esther 2 out of your grasp, and now he is grappling with Esther. He has Esther 2 grappled and over his shoulder. And that is the end of his turn, and then it is Bertram of the Cross's turn.
Good sir, she is the weakest of all of us. Have pity, sir. Have pity.
And I'm gonna try to pull her back.
Okay, great.
Meanwhile, she's clawing and trying to bite him.
Meanwhile,
Give
she's
me-
like covered in the murder blood of the first person she killed and is obviously by far more capable than we all think.
Right.
Basically going after this guy like a street cat.
Right, okay. So you're going to brawl with her.
God help us.
This poor crowd, all high on mushrooms in this fucking horror show.
Yeah, I mean, this has got to be a bad trip, right? If you've just taken some of the mushrooms.
That's the funny
okay.
thing. They won't kick in for a little while, so it still happened mid-fight.
Oh.
Okay, it says it defaults to nothing brawling, but it is dexterity easy, Clint, right? So
That's correct.
I'm just going to allow you to make a dexterity roll, and if you succeed, that means you've grabbed onto Esther again, and you can do another strength versus strength.
Okay. Oh, I do not succeed.
Okay, great. So this soldier is carrying Esther away, carrying Esther back to a boat.
No.
And you see that. Yes, and you see that they've already shackled one peasant, a young man who they are pushing over into the boat. They're taking prisoners. Okay, so that is Bertram of the Cross's turn. Jack the Hot.
Well, it sounds like there is a soldier with his back to me trying to take a woman back to the boat. So I'll stab him in the kidneys.
Go for it. And because he's a little bit preoccupied, you can go ahead and have +2 to that roll.
Love it. Didn't even need the +2. Made another hit to the vitals.
Oh, a hit to the vitals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not fucking around with these guys.
Do your damage.
Poke people where they don't want to get poked, I says. 4 times 3. So
Dead.
I should mention that times 3 will be after the armor. So
Right. Okay. Times, but still.
still a lot of damage. Nobody
you just
wants
did
to
12 damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did enough to incapacitate him. GURPS combat is pretty brutal. So even with the armor, you managed to pierce the armor and do damage to the vitals. And he starts bleeding out on the dock, and he drops Esther 2 onto the dock. And I'm going to rule that you guys have, at that point, successfully incapacitated the main French soldiers that are threatening you. And you can now move freely, and we can leave combat turns. So where are you going? What are you going to do?
I know.
I think we should full flee.
Yes, there's an abandoned warehouse not far from here. The French will never check it. Oh, poor
Any
Esther.
second.
Here, take my hand, my dear. Oh, gosh.
Meanwhile,
So
Esther
sorry
is just
you
like
were so
scrambling around for her.
ill-used.
Where's her knife? She's like Velma on the ground, like trying to find the knife in the crowd.
I can't find my glasses.
Find my knife.
Okay, so you guys run to that abandoned building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez,
And
yeah.
it's even, it was burnt a long time ago, so it's even missing part of its roof, and it's all grown over with vines and moss, and things that that grow in the dampness here by the water. But you all...
They says they used to make nails here.
Yeah, once long ago they made nails here, but no longer. And so you hide out, and as you hide out, you hear sounds coming from the town. Screams, shouts, the sounds of buildings collapsing. Cries of anguish as the French spread through Portsmouth again. Is anybody moved by any of this, or do you just kind of hunker down and wait?
Oh no, Jack will turn to Bertram and say, "Call on God to save us. Failing that, let's run and get our lord."
Take my hands, Esther and Jack. Grasp on to my weak hands, please. Together, please help. Come. Almighty God, we pray that you will deliver Portsmouth from the vile and disgusting French. And barring that, we pray that you understand that the three of us, and indeed all of our family, worship you, Holy Lord Jesus. And if we are martyred today, let it be that our ledger is marked in such a way that we've ticked off all the boxes so that we can join you in almighty heaven for all time. I love you, Jesus, and I love my cousins, and whatever my relation to Jack the Hard is important to me as well.
Employee.
Yes, his long-suffering family.
I just mostly just want to make sure that when we are killed, our souls are going to go to...
Sure. Not calling...
Do you have anything to confess? Now is the time, my friends. Do you have any sins that you wish to confess? As we prepare our necks for the chopping block of the French.
Oh. I sometimes creep into the barn and take milk before the morning milking.
What? Oh, very well, my son.
I confess that sometimes I harbor murderous urges. I have thought many times about, offing poor Brinley. He's very nice, but he's just a pain in my patoot. But I resist because I'm a godly woman and very pitiable.
Oh, Esther, I'm so sorry. And I hug you. Oh, that's just awful.
Am I getting like a sexual tension there with that hug? Or, no,
it's religious.
Okay,
it's
I
religious.
misread that.
It's a pity hug.
It's a pity hug, right? Of course,
yes.
People do lots of things for pity, sir.
I too have a confession to make. There are days where I hope that I am martyred, so that I may join my father Willem at the side of Almighty Christ. So with that, let us walk into the streets and announce ourselves to the French and accept our fates.
Well, if it's your destiny to be martyred, I guess I'll hand you the spear.
Yeah, Esther will say, "I will do this service for you, cousin."
All right. Well, this is it. It's been a wonderful series of decades for our family, but it's all come to this moment. And just
All the
remember-
same, I'm not going to go fight those French. I'm
but-
going to go talk to our Lord and let him know the French have come by water under a false flag. But you do you, and
Two things, Jack the Hard. As savage and disturbing as my first cousin once removed Esther is with a seamstress's knife, we require your fighting ability to win this day. That's thing number one. Thing number two is the Lord wanted to throw me in jail, and you would take us to him.
well,
If I am in jail, I will be remembered longer than if I am slain on the street by a dirty frog.
Yes, let us go see the Lord. I've come
among the
along
finest
to
ways to be
your...
martyred is to starve yourself in a jail cell.
Yes,
Nothing wrong.
yes, I've oft dreamt of it. Yes, far better to be martyred starving and screaming than to be bleeding out on the cobblestone. Yes, you lead the way, Jack the Hard. Esther, protect us with your knife. I will continue to pray the entire time, and that will be the most effective boon of all, for the Lord will be at our side.
how long is the jog to the manor?
It's maybe an hour's travel to get to the fortress where your liege lord holds court. So, in order to find the fastest, most convenient route that will perhaps keep you away from French patrols, I'll need some sort of check.
I do have
Area
that area knowledge.
That's the way I do it.
Yep, give me that area knowledge check.
Oh,
8 out of 11.
5 out of 10.
Nice.
Okay. You guys take side streets and a back way through the country, overland, and soon you come around to the back of the fortress, where you can see the fortress is burning, and that there is combat happening outside of it between French forces and English forces. Some of the English forces are a horseback, and they're not doing a poor job.
Okay.
Shall we go wait it out in the cave?
Or perhaps Spain.
Nonsense. This is our lord. He'd be calling us to this fight anyway. I'll grab the spear.
So you're going to run into combat, Jack the Hod.
Well, my thought is that with, like, Jack is a big 14 or 15-year-old, just got conscripted before. He's like, if the French are back, he knows he's going to get conscripted again. So, I think he would join the fight.
Esther 2 will her impulsiveness will be awakened by Jack the Hod's example, and we'll have to roll self-control not to follow him.
Great. Go ahead and roll that.
And she fails.
Okay. And Esther 2 is currently hurt and has no knife. Is that correct?
I have no knife, but I do have sewing needles. So I'm going to take my sewing needles and just put them in between my fingers and just make sewing needle brass knuckles.
Bertram of the Cross, when you see them preparing for battle, what do you do?
So what I suggest is that we stay here in a tight circle and wait out the oh no!
He's going to just sort of hobble alongside. He has no weapon, so he's just walking next to the family, I guess, and he's like,
Theodric's Book of Willem, Book 3, verse 7. A farewell to Robert, the whole town is dead, but Theodric and Agnes, they're out there.
and he just is like muttering these quotations in a way to bolster the faith of the two of them. It's really awesome.
And it works, because Jack fully believes that that's the Bible, and reading the Bible makes you strong. So.
Yep. And just to be clear for everyone at home, it is not the Bible.
Oh, if that was unclear to anyone.
Not yet. Anyway.
It's the Book of Willem.
Yeah, the Book of Willem.
The Book of Willem. It was
The
left out of the
apocryphal Book
Bible
of
by
Willem.
mistake.
Technically, it's the Book of the Acts of Willem, but yes.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to see how the battle is going as you arrive, whether the English are winning or the French. And it looks like the English are winning. So you watch as some French soldiers are cut down and routed right as you arrive. So there are French soldiers, let's see how many. There are 3 running from English soldiers on horseback the English soldiers are not pursuing because they're cutting down some more French soldiers that are near them. You guys are sort of in the path to intercept these 3 French soldiers that are retreating. Do you bother? Or do you attack them, or do you go to help the English soldiers on horseback? What do you do?
I want to drive my sewing needles right through their eyeballs.
Great.
These are armed and armored cavalry. I think we should let them go.
This is not cavalry. These French soldiers that are retreating are not on horseback.
Oh, they're not on horseback. Okay.
No, I described the English soldiers on.
But they are armored, correct?
They do have their mail shirts and their helmets. Yes.
And what sort of weapons do they have?
1 is carrying an axe, and 2 are carrying spears.
I don't like the odds. I think we should let them
I'm going to roll my self-control.
Yeah, poor pitiable Esther 2 may not have control of her actions.
And I fail badly.
Esther 2, I think they are so concentrating on getting away from the English knights that they do not expect a woman to come running out of the high grass with 2 sewing needles in their hands. So I will allow you to run out screaming and take an action before they can react.
Great. And should I roll knife or sewing or?
I'll allow you to roll knife at -1 because a sewing needle is sort of similar to a knife. It's still a piercing attack.
Like I said, I put them between my fingers with a piece of thread connecting them, so like a little sewing brass knuckle.
Right, of course. Wait, are we talking like Wolverine hands?
Yes. But with sewing
got
needles.
it, got it. No problem.
This big.
Okay, I fail. A 13 over 12.
Wait, are these sewing needles or knitting needles?
Sewing needles? Tiny.
So are they really small?
Yes. I don't have terribly large hands.
Sure. Okay, so you run out.
This is suicidal.
And it is suicidal.
I may not be the first to be martyred today.
Or is it just impulsive? Or is it just impulsive?
Or is it a sign of a miracle?
You run out and you swipe at them, and then you get a reaction roll to see if they find you pitiable. And that is a 14 with your +3 for pitiable.
Seems low.
I have to keep. I think it's pretty good, actually.
Okay.
It is pretty good.
They have a good reaction to you.
They admire my gumption.
I think that they find you pitiable and pathetic and not a threat, and so they sort of elbow you aside and keep moving unless Jack the Hot or anybody else wants to intercept.
If they're not trying to kill Esther, I would like to.
All right. So you let them go, and they run away down the road, and soon you are you watch as the English knights cut down the remaining French soldiers in front of the fortress, and you may approach the fortress and those English knights if you'd like.
Yes, I would like to approach the English knights. Do you guys follow?
Yes.
Reluctantly.
Yes.
One of the knights says a line that I have always dreamed of saying in a role-playing game. Halt! Who goes there? Friend or foe?
Friend.
Good citizens of Portsmouth and servants of our Lord.
And slayers
Arlo
of the
Hater.
French.
And slayers of the French.
Suddenly, a horse trots forward, and on its back, you see a member of the gentry. It is your liege lord, Harlow Hater. Yes, that is
never
the
seen a bull
reaction
cut
you
so
should
majestic.
have. Noblemen are beings that are a superior being to you. They have the divine right of God to rule over these lands.
I told you we'd celebrate classism, Jared. I told you we would.
Yes. And so he looks down on you, and he has one of those little pointy beards hanging off of his chin, and he goes,
Van Dyke.
"Good countrymen, have you come from the town?"
Yes.
We have covered in the blood of the French, and I'll drop the spear at his feet.
Attacks most foul.
You do my English heart proud by taking the fight to these vile Frenchmen. We are preparing for a sortie into the city to drive them back.
They came by ship under false flag. I don't know their numbers, but if we move quickly, we may still save us.
How are we to know that the French would attack us again? It's only happened several times in history.
The last time it happened, my father, Willem, saved many from the burning building of the church.
Ah, it is you, heretical priest.
Bertram O. the Cross. There is no heresy in my words. They are purely Christian.
I know your history. Your name is Gwyn.
Yes, my lord.
He fought
Originally,
bravely
yes.
against the French as well.
You propagate a false doctrine. Do you think not that your heretical preachings may have brought this woe down upon us?
Not previously occurred to me, sire.
Someone's made an argument that Jack needs to agree with because it's the last person who talked. So he turns and faces to them.
You're lucky that you're not in my dungeon right now. But
Yes.
one of my men-at-arms decided that you were not a risk for flight.
I stand before you a loyal subject and a big community booster of Portsmouth Town. Of course I would never flee. This is my home. My family's blood is in the north and south.
Bertram of the Cross, as you call yourself, prove yourself a true servant of God, and come with us to drive these French back. Will you follow me? Will you follow me, countrymen?
Yes!
Simple rustics!
Yes!
Simple childlike rustics! Will you follow me into the fray?
Yes!
I'll begin to beat the spear in my chest.
Do you by any chance have any extra weapons?
Except for you, goodly woman. You clearly need to rest. Seek succor within the fortress, where you will be.
I am a warrior. I have the spirit of God and the warrior inside of me. Just give me a knife. Give me a knife and I'll make them regret it.
But picture it higher pitched from a tiny person.
Tiny, pitiable woman.
And now the reaction roll. That is a 14. Good. So I think if it's good, you should get your way. They go, let her come. She can't hurt anything or get in our way. Very well. Then let us go.
She like wipes the murder blood from her face and like licks it.
Back into the fray, my friends. And you see that several other knights and men-at-arms have gathered along with citizens of Portsmouth who were hiding out in the fortress, but who seem to be a fighting spirit, young men, people in good health. And they've all grabbed, the peasantry have all grabbed like makeshift weapons, like rakes and farming implements. And Sir Harlow Hayter goes, forward! And he starts galloping back toward the town.
Can I find like a
All the rest of
hoe
us
or
just
something?
jog behind him.
Yes, people are throwing off things you can use as weapons off the back of a cart. You grab a hoe.
Can I grab something as well?
Absolutely. In fact, you could grab a knife if you want.
I would love a knife.
You get one. It is a knife used for cooking, but you do have a big knife now. And you all run back toward the city. And soon you can see, as you come up over a rise, that the entire town is burning. It is burning and burning, and there are French in the streets, and they are dragging away good Englishmen in shackles. Actually, directly in front of you, there are, this is scary, but there is a large force with you. There are 16 Frenchmen in the wide street ahead of you, dragging away Englishmen and setting things aflame. How many Englishmen are visible? Only 8 or so English people, and they're all either injured or they're being dragged away in chains. So, Sir Harlow Hayter says, charge! And he and his, let's see how many knights he has with him. He has 5 knights with him, so they charge in and they start attacking the 16 Frenchmen. And then let's see how many peasants are among you. Oh, God. Okay, there are like 10, common folk armed with farming implements that are all running behind the 5 knights. What would you guys like to do? And by the way, we are almost at the end of the story today, so this is a critical moment. Will Bertram of the Cross find his martyrdom? What will happen to the very unpredictable Esther 2 in this melee? And Jack the Hod, what is his destiny? Let's find out right now. What do you do?
Jack joins the charge.
Very good. What about Bertram?
Bertram is going to just he's got the hoe, but he's got his book in the other hand, and he's just gonna do a public speaking to rally the commoners to support Lord Harlow and fight on with enhanced vigor.
Very good. And what about Esther?
Esther will join the charge.
Okay, so I'm going to let Bertram's role happen first, because I think that if he adequately rouses people's fighting spirit, that could give them a bonus. So Bertram, use your public speaking.
And the Lord God said, "Put your back into it, boys."
12. I got it exactly.
That means you succeed. And so I'm going to give everybody a +1 on whatever they try to do. So you're rushing forward, and I'm going to go in order again and start with Jack the Hod. Jack, you see English knights cutting down or attacking some of the Frenchmen. You see there are Frenchmen who are not being currently targeted, who are dragging away English citizens. You see French soldiers that are not being currently targeted, who are setting buildings on fire. Feel free to ask me any questions, but you are about to enter melee range with some of these people, depending on which way you run. Who do you want to attack? What do you want to do?
So staying in the throng of sort of other attackers, I'll engage the first, French foot we find.
Very good. Okay, so this will be one of the guys just setting fire to buildings, and... Okay, and you're in luck because you're actually double teaming this guy. You and another peasant are attacking him all at once. So, go ahead and make your attack, I guess.
All right. I'm not going to go for the vitals this time, just hitting the body somewhere. And 10 is a hit.
10 is a hit. Do your damage.
Take it. 4.
4, and this guy is armored. That is not enough to really hurt him. So your spear just sort of hits the male shirt. But
I'm going to use the spear's reach if I can.
Yes, okay. The other guy that is attacking with a rake, and he succeeds in his roll. And he deals... He also is stopped by the armor. So you guys are both having trouble as mere common folk with this trained soldier. Then we come to Esther 2.
Esther 2 is going to she'll be running along with the charge, and she will leap out and try to stab the first French soldier she can see.
Okay, very good. And let me see what kind of soldier that is. That is going to be one of the soldiers that is dragging off a English citizen. And they are sort of isolated. They are not currently being attacked by anybody else.
So she's going to try to just like run up behind them and just like drive her, just like stab into his neck. Okay,
great. Give it a shot. Give me the knife skill.
I get it exactly. 13.
13. That is a hit. Do your damage.
It's 1d minus 1, right?
That's right.
4 points of damage.
4 points of damage. But we said it wasn't a called shot, so it goes perhaps directly into the torso, I think would be reasonable. Or could we roll on the hit location table?
We could roll on the table. Non-called shots go for the body unless you roll randomly.
Let's roll on the table. I know I didn't do that for you, Clinton Trucks, but I think I'm going to do that for Esther because she's such a wild combatant.
Great. So 3d6 we got a table.
You want me to
Please
roll?
roll 3d6, yeah.
Okay, that is a 15.
15.
The hand.
Okay, so you stab this guy in the hand, and he has to drop the citizen he was dragging away.
Let's go, my countrymen!
And his hand has now got a big slash. It went all the way through his hand, and he's like, ah! And he does take the 4 damage after all.
If she does over a third of his hit points, it's crippled.
It is over a third of the hit points.
you go.
He's got a knife sticking straight through his hand.
I'm calling crippled grounds for retreat is what I'm calling crippled. So he drops the citizen and grabs his hand and starts to back up. And then it is the French soldier's turn. So I'm going to have one attack our friend Jack the Hod. And then I have one other thing that they're going to do. But first, Jack the Hod, the one you're fighting
with?
He's attacking with an axe. And he rolls not a good roll.
Right.
15, he misses. He misses you with his axe. And now one of them has armed a bow, is standing yards and yards away, but is looking at the preacher who is standing over everybody and shouting out the word of God. And he aims and he fires.
Is Bertram aware of the attack? Does he see the archer?
Bertram, let's have a perception roll to see if you're aware of the attack.
Ready? Yeah, I made it by 2.
Okay, so you see this guy aim at you and fire. Does that mean he gets a dodge, Clinton Trunks?
It means dodge is a possibility, and he can even throw himself to the ground for an additional +3.
Bertram, I think you better do that. Unless you want to take this arrow.
I don't want to throw myself on the ground, but I will try to sidestep if I notice an arrow shooting my way. May I roll a dodge?
I think you should.
I missed the dodge by 2.
All right, here it comes. 3 damage. An arrow pierces your shoulder. Oh, let's do the hit location table. Ready? Forget what I said about a shoulder. Let's see where it hit. Ready? All right, Clinton Trucks, I just rolled a 8.
8, right arm.
Yes, so it is the shoulder. Your right shoulder is pierced by an arrow. Ah! Okay. We've come to the end of our time, and I also think that these French are routed by the attack from the English. And you've all shown yourself to be brave and loyal citizens of Portsmouth and English countrymen. And now I will just ask for a final action from each of you that kind of sums up the end of this battle. And I will start with Jack the Hod, if you don't mind.
Sure. Jack the Hod is going to end up spending a lot of the fight just following Esther around, stopping her from getting poked, punctured, and otherwise pulverized.
All right, Esther.
Esther is going to leap from French soldier to French soldier, just stabbing wildly at them and trying to eviscerate as many as possible.
They just keep trying to run from you, and Jack the Hod is trying to pull you back. And it's sort of a horrifying scene as Jack the Hod tries to desperately curtail your berserker fury. Finally, Bertram, an arrow sticking out of your shoulder. How do you end the fight, or what do you do here?
The blood from the wound starts seeping into his beautiful new robes that Esther II created for him. And weirdly, it's at that moment that Bertram of the Cross starts to feel like he is being submerged in water. And as the water moves up his body and up his neck and finally to his head, that's when the mushrooms kick in. And he finds himself staring at a burning vegetable cart. And it's as if the camera moves into the fire. And when it pulls back, it is a campfire in the center of a cave. And there are 3 hooded figures sitting around the cave, and one by one, they pull back their hoods and they look to Bertram of the Cross. The first one pulls back his hood, and it is his missing brother, Willem. The second pulls back his hood, and it is his father, Theodoric. I got those 2 mixed up. And then the third one takes back his hood, and it is the original Bertram o' the Cave. And as Bertram o' the Cross is looking, his eyes glazed over, the sounds of fighting still behind him, in that singular moment in the cave,
all three of his forebears look at him and speak at once. And what do they say to him, Jared? This is one of his visions. He doesn't know.
They say, Bertram, you have made us proud. You have spilled your blood on this soil, consecrating it. We have now revealed the new ritual, the new sacrament, the spilling of blood. This sacrament must be carried by you to the people. They will not receive true enlightenment through Christ until they, like Christ, have spilled their blood upon English soil.
Nice. Bertram falls down to his knees, and as the real world snaps in again, a little of the blood falls from his shoulder onto the ground of Portsmouth town, and as tears flow down his cheeks, a slight smile comes to his mouth.
And I will
Is he weeping at a vegetable cart?
I will just give you a bit of an epilogue, which is this. Esther 2, you survive the entire battle against all odds. And as they are carrying you away, even against your protests, you feel a slight fever coming on. And you feel a little nauseous and a little achy, and you're shaking a little bit. Because not only did the French attack a second time in 1369,
Are you kidding?
the Black Plague came back.
Jesus fucking Christ.
In 1369, there was another outbreak of the plague, and I have been secretly rolling against each of you to see if any of you contracted it. And the person who contracted it was Esther 2.
Oh, no.
And rather than go through the mini rolls, that will determine whether Esther 2 survives, I will simply allow Matthew Capodicasa to tell me whether Esther survives.
I really just want to roll for it. Can I just roll for it? I want to see.
All right. Yeah, let's make it one roll instead of our long process. So just give me a health at -3 roll.
-3? Oh, yeah, she's toast. 12 over 9.
12 over 9. Esther, the buboes form about, let's see.
Poor Esther,
So
too.
it's so pitiful.
About 9 days later, the buboes start to form. And then after that, respiratory failure sits in. You're already bruised and battered from your battle against the French. And as you start to cough up blood, Brinley comes to your side and says, "My love,
Yes?
God's kingdom awaits you."
Shut up, bring me. Bring me some water.
He brings you water.
I should confess, I often had thoughts of murdering you in your sleep for your insolence and your imbecility.
It's okay, my love. God forgives you for that.
Yes, I like to think I earned my forgiveness by defending my country from some vicious Frenchmen.
Saint Willem preserve you, my love.
Saint Willem preserve us all.
Flights of angels, take thee to thy rest. A phrase I just coined.
You should write that down if only you knew how to read.
I don't know. I don't know how to read. And as Esther 2 expires on a flea-ridden cot in a small cottage on the outskirts of Portsmouth, we will say good night to our family. We are going to see them one more time at the end of the 14th century when we come back next time. But until then, I want to thank my incredible players, Clinton Trice, Matthew Capodicasa, and Erik Mona. Thank you for making that so entertaining. This is the Game Garage on the Glass Cannon Network, and we'll see you next time.